So starting here at the bottom, we're going across, okay? So with that, remember, we never start like in the middle of our drawing. We always go across the middle. So here's the true middle. So to the side of that diagonal line going across, and this is that bottom line. And I won't go to the total edge of the page, but we'll get close to it. And then another diagonal line. It's about a finger width above. And this drawing is just all about shapes. All about shapes. You have some geometric shapes going on, and some organic shapes, but just basic shapes. So this should be, beginner friendly. All right, so we have those two diagonal lines for the base of our windowsill. Next, we're going to draw the exterior here, the arch, and that's about 3 finger widths from the edge. And this is just a like 8 by 11 paper here. So sketching out that vertical line. And I'm getting to the top of the page. Before I get to the top, I'm just going to throw in a little curve here. So we're not seeing the total arch, but it definitely gives that impression. This is my straightest line yet. Now notice it does not touch our two parallel diagonal lines there. It does not touch. It's just like floating above. Okay. So then about 2 finger widths. Next, I'm drawing another vertical line going into an arch. Okay. So we have the vertical line. I'm trying to keep it straight. I'm just looking at my first line as a comparison. And then slight arch, slight curve. Once again, it is not touching its parallel lines. And then our final part of our window, and it's about a finger width apart. And just a reference here, this, where the pencil is, that would be the middle of the page. Okay, so this is all like heavy just on one side. All right, next. Now, I don't want you to get caught up on like the math and the angles here don't get caught up on, matching together these angles here. I because all of our different serums and soaps, lotions, they're going to go here at this juncture. So you're not going to see where everything meets up. And that's fine. That's very intentional. Okay. So what we're going to focus on is just recreating the same angle of these diagonal lines here. So same angle, but we're going to lift it up a little bit higher. We need two diagonal lines at the same angle, but they're just a little bit higher. So I'm going to pretend like I'm drawing this line again and just like work my way up and draw another diagonal line. Once again, I'm not concerned about this line meeting I'm not concerned about this line meeting the side here. I'm just making sure the angle is right. That's it. And I'll do another parallel diagonal line. Once again, don't worry about where these meet up. Honestly, you can just stop the line right there because you're not going to see it. You're not going to see that. All of our soaps are going to be right here. Okay. So now we're just throwing out the shapes of our favorite soaps, favorite candles, serums, whatever. I had some fun looking bottles here. This like tubed, almost like jelly shaped bottle I really liked. Sprays here. Honestly, I think this was like a Bath and Body Works spray. But yeah. So I have my examples. You can add in your own, perfume, soaps, serums, what have you. But these are a few of mine. So you can draw these and some. So let's start with this cylinder here. And it's too easy. It's basically two vertical lines, right? So I'm just being careful not to have anything like directly in the middle of my page, because that's not, it's too simple putting things in the middle. All right, so we have two parallel vertical lines. I'm trying my best to make them straight. They're a little wavy. All right, two lines, and then we're going to cap it off with an oval. All right, so we have our oval top, and then where the bottle is, and I think that's like a clear cap, adding a curve here underneath. And then 1, 2 vertical lines, and then adding a curve. And then I'll do the same thing again. 1, 2. And that's like the sprayer at the top. Okay, and I'm not worried about the bottom because we'll put something there. You won't be able to see the bottom. I will erase this window frame going through the middle of my Bath and Body Works bottle though. Okay, so we have our body spray. Next, we need this little facial serum. It's like one of those little glass containers where you like scoop your finger in. Or, if you're fancy and have the little spoon to apply in your face, you're awesome. But yeah, so it sort of looks like a wide cup, almost like a bowl here. And it's semi in the front of our body spray. So it's a wide U shape. Wide U, I'm gonna clean it up. Okay, so here floating in the middle, I'm adding our oval for the lid. And it's not the total width of that U shape, it sort of sits inside of it. So it's gonna float just above that U. And then 1, 2 parallel lines going down. And connecting it with a curve. And now we'll cap it off with just 2 curves here on the left and right. Then to give the impression that it's really just resting here, I'll add a curve, but it's sort of broken, it's not fully connecting. All right, so there's our facial serum. Now it has the line of our body spray going through it. So using your eraser, this is why I use the eraser instead of the marker, just because we have a lot of overlapping shapes and objects. So if this was a marker, you can't erase a marker. All right, body spray, facial serum. Next is replacing our soap here. So the details of the soap, this like bubble on all the sides, that will come later. We're gonna get the general shape first. So the general shape, and this is overlapping our body spray too. So the general shape is a cylinder. So starting off two parallel lines. And these lines will go a little bit lower than that facial serum. Two finger widths, yeah. It just sort of looks wider, I guess, because of the curves. But yeah, so here we go. This is sort of in the foreground, so the bottom is a little lower. But we'll do the same thing by adding a curved bottom. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing to the top. Add a curved top. Okay. Look at that cylinder. All right. So next we have the pump dispenser here on the top, and it's really a cylinder again. So I'm gonna find the middle. This is about the middle. That's about the middle of the container. So once I found the middle, then it's two parallel lines. When I tell you, this is just all about shapes. It really is just shapes. Okay, so we have either side of our cylinder here. So I'll add the bottom, which is a curve. Here's the middle, which is a curve. And then the top makes it an oval. Okay, so still going up from the middle, going to add two parallel lines on either side of that middle. And then it's another cylinder on the top, doing the same thing, two parallel lines. Curve at the bottom, oval at the top. Once we have the oval, we need the little nozzle. This is just two parallel lines going out. One, two, and then I'll add a little curve going down. Okay, so all of these excess lines here on the sides, we can get rid of those. That middle line, get rid of that. Be careful when you're erasing. Okay, so now this pump, this nozzle, sort of floating over our container. So I'm just adding two parallel lines to connect it and a little curve here, flaring out. There we go. So we have the general body of our bottle. Next, all these really like juicy curves. That's what we want. Okay, so I'm just going to lightly sketch out the where I want these curves to go. So it's just going to be like curve here, about the same distance, curve. I am not planning this out. It's just like whatever fits. It's three, maybe one more here, make it four. Okay. And then I'll add these little cute V shapes on the side. Here. They look like a little V shape. And sideways V. And our last sideways V. There we go. There's our bottle. Okay, so here's our straw going through the bottle. Now this is like a glass bottle, so maybe you want to show it, maybe not. It really just depends on what soap or serum or whatever you have in it. Mine just appears lightly there. But I'm definitely going to erase. Just cleaning up the sides. And I'll erase some of this, not completely. Once again, this is like a glass bottle, so you should be able to semi-see through it, but not totally. Okay, so here's our bottle. I'm gonna add some reflecting spaces here, and these are really just organic shapes, and it's following the curve of the bottle. So when you are coloring this or shading, these will be like the highlight areas. These will be either in white or like the lightest parts of your drawing. Oh, I think that's probably the most difficult one. Well, I won't say difficult, but time consuming. Yeah, but it's so juicy, all the curves on it. Okay, so next we have this candle here, and it's in this beautiful rainbow arch. This will be probably the easiest part because we've done all the hard stuff. So it's starting off with two parallel lines, and this goes a little bit lower than our curved bottle here. Two parallel lines. And this one's a little bit lower. And clean it up. Okay, so what I will do, so this is the middle of my candle arch, right? So at the middle, I'm going to draw another curve going down. And this will create like just the side of our candle. So here's the front, and it slants downward. And here's the side. Okay. I'm going to erase this. Once again, a lot of overlapping in this drawing, and we don't want our window to cut off our candle. Okay. So now we're just adding these arches of our candle, and it's starting off with 1, 2 parallel lines. One on either side. Sketch going up. Sketch going up. And then an arch. And then we work inward. So one parallel line, second parallel line, then sketch going up. And last time, first parallel line, second, continue the line going up. Okay. And then here's a little bit of the wick there at the top. I always say this is not like a perfect copy, and I can definitely tell because here my candle is a little bit larger than in the original, but that's fine. We'll leave it at that. I guess I like the candle more. Okay, so next we're just going to wrap up this window seal. And for the window seal, once again, I said I wasn't going to go off the page. So these two diagonal lines, I'm just going to connect them just before they meet the end of the page. Connect them with the curve. And then at the top of that curve, just drawing a diagonal line. And it goes back. Draw a little L to go inside of the window seal. And that's it. So the outside of my window, I have clouds. You can add clouds. You can add leaves. You can have people. It's up to you. These clouds are pretty random and organic. It's really just squiggly lines that I'm adding. I am not counting my clouds. You don't count the clouds either. This is supposed to be a relaxing drawing. Okay? I will say my general thought for drawing clouds is to make them longer, like horizontal. So yes, they may squiggle and wiggle, but my general thought, I want them to be horizontal. You can add as many or as few as you like. And I can go add just a little bit at the top. Okay, so here are my clouds. And then I added just some lines here to show like a sheer curtain. There's some texture marks here. I think with this second drawing, no texture marks, so I'll just add the lines. So if this is the middle of the page, I'm going to start to the side of the middle. Once again, nothing should wavy lines. This one has somewhat of like a U shape going up to show a fold, but that's it. And you can keep these lines or go without. I just wanted to add a little bit of movement. And there we are. That's our drawing. What's the title for this? I'll say Through the Window. Through the window. A completed drawing. Yeah, and I'll see you next time.